Welcome, friends. Today we have an inside project. I'm going to be working on some houseplant transplanting. I have this giant African violet. Yes, this is started as one African violet. Now I have many, but it obviously needs repotted and divided. It is several years old, close to 5 years old, or maybe even older. And it started out as a little tiny 4-inch pot that I got at when I worked in the office. The African Violet Society had a plant sale in the basement in the cafeteria, and I just bought one because I thought it would be cute on my desk. And fast forward to 2020, then I had to take my pots home when we went home to work, and I put it in a window, and it flourished in my window at home as opposed to the fluorescent lighting at work. And so I put it in a bigger pot, but I didn't really divide it at that point. It wasn't a problem. There was maybe 2 or 3 plants in this one pot. I just made it bigger. And now that I've moved into a new home and we have even different lighting, it's grown a lot as well. And if you can see here, see if I can lift it up, but I don't know if you can see, there are spots that are dying in the middle. So it's suffering, and it is time to divide it up and get them all in separate pots. Maybe I can insert a picture of what it looked like when I got it and how tiny it was. And, I paid like $4 for it. It was one of those lunchtime impulse purchases. So it's lasted a long time, and I'm really excited about it. I have a second one that I bought as well. It has darker leaves and darker flowers. This one has the light lavender flowers. It needs divided up as well, but it is in full bloom right now. There are so many blooms on it, and this is not the right time to divide it. So I'm going to wait for those blooms to fade before we cut that one up. So this one is a project for today. I was going to wait for winter, but it needs it so bad. We're not going to wait any longer. So what I have is a couple different pots. The one that it is in has the insert. It's an insert that sits above a reservoir of water, and then strings go down into the water and wick the water up into the plants for the root. And obviously it loves it. I have a third pot that I've had a piece that I propagated and planted in the other third pot, and the soil on the top just keeps getting moldy. And as someone who has spent the last year trying to heal from mold poisoning, mold toxicity, I can't have it in my house. I don't want anything to do with it. Threw it away because I don't want to mess with it. I don't want to be exposed to that mold as I'm repotting it. So the whole thing just went thrown in the garbage. So I'm not sure if it's the pot, or if the pot was too big for the plant and the plant wasn't using up enough of the water, and then the mold kind of gathered on top. Not sure what that was, but I'm kind of a little concerned about using more big pots like that. So what I have gotten is, here's a smaller version of it. There's several different sizes. I think this is 4-inch, and it goes up to like 6 or 7 inches. They have holes on the bottom so it can drain. They do have the strings that wick. And then the saucer connects on. It locks in there. And then it has a little hole over on the side, and you can put this little trough in there to water to the bottom so that it can have that little bit of water sitting in there and wicks. I'm excited to try these. And of course, I can put a smaller plant in here and not have as much soil exposed. Now, the other ways you can do it are just traditional clay pots. The concern here is when you're watering it, you're going to be watering it from the top. You have to make very sure that you're not getting the leaves wet or the stem itself, because they will rot and that will be detrimental to the plant. I have seen some people who are setting this in a clay pot, in a clay saucer, and then watering in the saucer and wicking that up, because the clay is porous and it will help pull the water up as well as the soil. I haven't actually tried that, but that's a very good idea. I may actually do that with some of these. And then I just have a traditional pot, no hole on the bottom. So with these, you just want to make very sure, again, when you're watering from the top, not to get the plant exposed to it, the no leaves and no stem in the water. Just water the dirt, let it soak down, and without a hole in the bottom, you want to make sure you're not overwatering these because there's nowhere for the water to go. And lastly, I have some little plastic nursery pots. They do have lots of holes on the bottom, and so string can be put up through here and they can be watered through the bottom. Set them in a little saucer and that would work as well. I have different sizes. These are like maybe 3-inch, these are 4 or 5-inch, and then I have bigger ones. So depending on the size of the baby plant that comes out here, we can use these. And these are great because I plan to give a lot of these away. I don't need dozens of African violets, so these are low cost, inexpensive way for me to share with my friends and family. So these are that's the way we're going to be potting them. And then the soil we're using today is this African violet mix. And I don't have any experience with it. I usually have used Espoma. So this is just what I can get locally easily here. I usually have to order the Espoma. None of the nurseries carry the African violet soil. They carry a couple of the others, but I haven't found the African violet. So we're going to give this a shot. I've planted another one in it, and it looks like it's really good consistency. So this would, if you use soils that are specific to African violet growing, you're going to get the right amount of nutrients, the right amount of density that'll drain like a African violet will want it to drain, not too much and not retain too much water. So as opposed to regular potting soil, you can definitely use that, but you're going to have a lot more care with checking out the water and making sure that you're not overwatering, underwatering, it's not retaining too much. And then being a little more proactive on your nutrients to make sure that they're getting the right fertilizing. So on that note, what I do for fertilizing with these pots that have the double inset, and I don't know if I can show this real easily without damaging the plant, but see if you can see, I can take it out here. You can't even see because there's so much plant. But they, like I said, they sit over a reservoir of water, and I drop the fertilizer right into the reservoir of water and then let that soak it up. I fertilize it. I put a little fertilizer in that water every time I water it, which is probably about once a month. That's about how long it takes for it to come up. And so with watering into the dirt, overhead watering we'll call it, that would be different. I will have to play with how often they need fertilized there because they're obviously not getting the continuous amount of fertilizer. It would be, bi-weekly or monthly or something as you water. So that's pretty much the information about these. Now I'm going to put the camera on the table and I will walk you through how we divide these up and get them potted up. So hopefully you can see this well here. So as you can see, there's a lot of dead in the middle here. This is where it's just starting to grow away, being over too large for the container, not getting enough light in the middle, not enough nutrients, etc. This is where the plant is starting to fail. So to rectify that, we're going to, I don't know if you guys can see this really well, we're going to go down and find the stem and just clip it off. Oop, I just broke some under there. Just clip here. I made a cut there. Okay, so there's our first cut. Taking that off, and we're going to just clean out the dead here. Need a garbage can so we can see what we're dealing with here. Now it looks like there are 2 plants on here. There's one going this direction, so let's give it a little snip. Take it off. It doesn't have a whole lot of stem there, but I think we can salvage that. And this has the old stem. It's all twisted. Looks like there's a couple different major stems here as well. Now these leaves are very delicate, as you can see. I've already broke some off. That's okay, and in fact you can save these and propagate them as well. So we'll set those aside. Scooch that over. So here's what we have. Let's see what we're working with. This big old gnarly stem here doesn't really go to anything, so I think I can cut that off. And then you can kind of see that there are multiple plants in here. There's one here we'll take off. Ooh, one here we'll take off. It just started breaking off. And this big one. And then these healthy leaves we can save in case we want to propagate them as well. So this is a pretty big one. Got a big root or a big stem that will root. When we are repotting them, we want to take off a lot of the leaf canopy and have it just focus on the root growth. So I'm going to take off all these stems, all these leaves that are big and long out in the canopy. We want to keep it closer to the center of the plant. And I know this is always heartbreaking and hard to do, but if you change the mindset of this is in the plant's best interest as opposed to I feel like I'm killing this plant, then it makes it a little easier. This leaf doesn't seem very healthy, so we'll take it off too, and this, maybe those are just new growth. Okay, so what we're left with is this amount right here. And I think I might take it back a little bit further. Get all this gunk off of the main stem. We got some good baby growth in here. This is amazing to see that. But I think I'm going to take more of these leaves off. And what this does is it keeps the plant focusing on root growth, establishing those roots, as opposed to maintaining the canopy. So when we have it like this, it's a lot lighter load. Now, if you can see, this main stem here is really kind of crusty, and we want to kind of rough it up a little bit just so that it can form those roots a little easier. And I'm not doing this very hard. I'm not trying to injure it, just like there's some little callus on it. We want to kind of start to remove that so that the roots have a better chance of forming. So there's that one. And then this one is a little more precarious. Oh, that was probably going to come off anyway. Some dead stuff here. This one, I don't know. This might be one that we sacrifice. That's a bad leaf. These are tons of healthy leaves. This one is kind of questionable. I don't know. We'll set that one aside and think about it. I think we're going to have so many that I'm not going to need to salvage every little tiny plant here. So this is a good one. It has pretty healthy stem. And again, it has these outer leaves that are healthy, but going to take away strength from reestablishing the plant. So as hard as it is to remove these, that's what we're going to do. And you don't want to take them all away because you do want them to get the nutrients they need in the light. So that's how big it is that I'm going to save. So this is a good one to pot. I'm just set it there. And this one here, let's take a look at this. This has a big gnarly stem as well. Take some of these leaves away. Some of them are not very healthy. They're not very thick, like they're struggling. cleaning that up. And then on this one, I'm going to take away a little bit of this big knotted stem. And it does have a little bit of damage inside of it. So I think where this is going to grow is right in this part as opposed to here. If you can see, there's a little bit of woodiness or damage in there. So we'll take that away. And then that's cleaner to work with. Okay, so there's another one. And that was all from just that one cutting. I've got 4 plants and tons of leaves. And I have a dog right under my feet here. So, Milo. We'll take another one here. Next one over is right here. I'll snip. See if we can pull this out. It's all tangled up with the dead stuff and with these other nearby plants. Take that one out, and then there's this one. It's hanging by a thread, so we'll cut it. This is a big piece, and some of these are already fallen off. They're not very strong. Take those leaves out. Again, it's a nice big leaf canopy, but we want to take it down so that we can focus on the roots. So I don't know the health of some of these. As we take these off, it makes the stem that we're going to put into the soil a little longer as well, so that'll be helpful. Now there are a couple different schools of thought. This is a little tongue-in-cheek, but these survive on the floor of the forest in their natural environment. They grow in all the loamy soil, and the leaves that drop from the forest leaves or trees. And we all know that the forest fairies are not going over there and repotting these for the forest. So they're adapted. See how this is turning. They're adapted to move themselves to find more dirt. This was coming, over the edge of the pot. So when we pot it, we'll make it stand up a little better. Let's take a couple more of these big ones off. So it'll kind of sit funny. It won't sit straight down, but it'll root its way down. Okay, so there's another nice healthy one. And this other piece we took off over here. Let's see if I can. Get rid of this. There's another little baby one right here. Look how tiny this one is. We could pot that right up. So there's another one that has the crooked stem. It curves. So if we plant it so that the plant's sitting mostly upright, then the stem will start growing down. So again, we have a big plant or leaf canopy here. We don't want to have to support all that, so we're going to slim it down. Tons of leaves here that we could propagate for more plants. So I'm going to leave it with this. Okay, I think you get the idea there. So I'm going to go ahead and start planting these, and then I'll speed it up so you can see what the finished product looks like. So I think this one will fit in here nicely. This could be one that I give away. It's a nice little slim plant. It'd be nice in there. Opening our potting soil up here. So if you can see this, it has a lot of perlite in it, make it a little lighter and loamier. Just going to fill up our container, press it in. leave a little bit of a lip. And then we'll just make our little hole here. We've got this one nice and scratched up. Oh, maybe I'll do a little bit. Take off some of this callus stuff so roots can make their way out easier. And then we'll just stick it in and pack it around. Got some dirt on the leaf there. And then that's what that one looks like right now. So we'll get some water on that. I think this one looks like a good fit for this self-watering pot. So this would sit in here like this. That looks good proportions. We'll fill up our pot here. And this one does have the strings coming out. Press it in. And then we can make a little hole here. Find our root. That one was one we roughed up. Take your fingernail or, like the edge of the blade. Butter knife works good. Spoon, whatever you have available. And this one's a little trickier because it's not going to go straight down. We're going to set that one off to the side so that the plant itself sits upright. And then it will straighten itself out. A little bit more soil. Okay, that one's done. Whoop. And some of these might need to be staked. This one's flopping over a little bit because of the way their stem is growing. This one looks like it's in a good proportion for this pot, so it'll sit there. So in these clay pots, let me take the price sticker off of it, they have a pretty good sized hole and the dirt's going to come right out. So I take a little piece of paper towel and set it over the hole, and that way the soil won't come out but water can still move through. So filling that up. Okay, again we'll make a little hole here so we can put our root down in here. Make sure it's scratched up, ready to root. And then we'll pop it in the hole and pack it in. Now on these pots, it's the clay pots that we're going to water from the top probably. And it's really good to make sure we have a good lip, like there's a 1/2 inch between the soil and the edge of the pot so that we can have lots of room in there. So we're not watering the stems and the leaves. And I think this size pot is another good one for this baby plant. So we'll fill it up. Let's get rid of the sticker. And put in our paper towel. Fill it up. Find room for our plant. Press it in and pack the soil around it. Okay. So you get the idea there. Now I am going to try this with our nursery pot. I'm going to grab this bigger size nursery pot. I don't know what size these are if they say. But they have the, there are two here. They have the holes in the bottom. They are two stuck together. Okay, so they have the actual holes in the bottom here. I don't know if you can see that for the string. technique, so I am going to use that. And this is just a package of string I got at Home Depot, so I'll just cut a little bit off here. And we'll stick it from the top through the bottom, 2 holes. We do not need this much string hanging out. Just give it a couple inches and we can adjust this later as well. Lost it on this side. And there's some ridges in the bottom here so that the string has places to go, so that the water, it can reach the water and sit nicely on the saucer. So again, this has a lot of holes in it, so I'm going to pop in a paper towel, cover up some of those holes so that we can get the dirt in here. And again, this wouldn't be a permanent pot for it, just so I can nurse it along until I decide to gift it to somebody, find a new owner, get it adopted out. However, I think you could set this inside a different pot that didn't have a hole in it and then let it water from the bottom. So I think that is a possibility. I should try that. Kind of like an orchid. They have these kind of pots that have holes on the sides too. So pack it in. Make room for our stem. This was one we cleaned really well. And again, it goes off to the side, so we're gonna make room for that. Pack it in so it stands up nice. And there we have that one with the strings here, so we can water from the bottom. Give that a try. Okay. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 from just those 2 pieces, and I have hundreds of leaves to propagate. So I'm going to continue the process, and I'll speed it up for you so you don't have to watch 2 hours of me potting leaves. Here we have a picture of all of them that I replanted. Get them all on the screen here. There are 17 of them, all from the one plant right over here, all from this pot. There's all the dead stuff on it, so that's just gonna go in the garbage. But these 17 are the new babies. We will keep them in a window, give them some light where they can flourish. And some of them that are like kind of tipping over and stuff, we can stake them up, get them some support until the sun like teaches them to grow upright again. So, and again, to review, we have these in temporary pots that I can gift. I have lots of those. I need homes for these. I have this new bottom watering pot that I'm very excited to try. And then we have some traditional clay pots that I will water from the top. You can also try from the bottom, but I think the top method will work well. And some bigger pots that are more temporary, giving those away, and then somebody can pot them in a pot that works for their decor. And if I find out some of these are a little too heavy still, I'm just going to keep snipping off those outer leaves so that there's less for the plant to support both physically and with nutrients. And then bring this up a little bit. And then I have a whole pot here of just leaves that I saved. And these are all outer leaves that are in good shape. They don't have any damage on them. And we're going to show you how to propagate those. All right, showing you how to propagate the leaves. Actually, that one's not a very good one. So we're going to take a very healthy leaf and we're going to cut it down just a little bit. And we're going to stick it in the soil here. And you want this soil to be very moist. And let's see how we can dig a hole. The roots are going to form along the stem of the leaf. Make a room down there for the leaf. This is a pretty good one. We're going to make it short enough to fit in a little cup. And you can do it in a really small cup like this. So there we have our leaves planted. I'm going to add a little bit more water. I don't feel like that was super moist. You poke a hole in the bottom of these cups. These are just regular little Dixie cups, like bathroom Dixie cups that are like a plastic, not a paper. You poke a hole in the bottom of them so that if there's any excess water, it'll drain out. We want them to be pretty moist because we are going to then put them into a humidity dome, and we're just going to use a Ziploc baggie. One way to do this is to take just a little plastic saucer, sticking it inside of the Ziploc bag, and then placing the cuttings in here and arranging them so they're not touching the plastic bag. The saucer then helps keep those leaves away from the edges of the bags, and you zip it up, and that will keep the humidity in there so that they have a chance to root in faster and to grow their new growth. Another way to do this is to use your just just any pot, preferably clear so you can get the sunlight through there. You can put it in here and put a saucer on top, tape it on there, or put the clear pot inside the Ziploc bag and put the cutting in there and zip it up. And then humidity will form on the bag, and that's perfectly fine. If you don't see humidity forming, you might need a little bit more moisture, but you don't want so much humidity that it's dripping down on the leaves because that'll ruin the leaves. I'm going to plant one into this pot here for a little more permanent position. I'll get it really wet. Let that water soak in. Okay, as that soaks in, poke our hole down here, put our leaf in. Get it closed up. And I have my own little humidity dome here, like this. And it's touching, so I'm gonna replant it here. Let's go over a little bit away from center. And that's going to create its own little humidity dome. So that is how I am going to propagate that leaf. Let's see if we can bring it closer to you. So anyway, here's a close-up of the leaf, and then this glass dome. So you can buy these online. I happened to find this at Michael's on clearance, so it was super cheap. And that's how I'm going to propagate that one. And if these other ones in the baggie work, they work. If they don't, I have plenty. Another way to do this is to take, so you can put it in this bigger cup, just plant the whole thing with dirt, or you could actually you could do it this way. And then that leaf has plenty of room, so it's not going to hit the edges. And we put another one on top. And I even saw on Amazon that they do make these nursery pots that have a dome. They call it a humidity dome, and they look kind of like a snow cone cup. So it has the cup that you would fill with dirt, put your leaf in, and then it has a lid that actually fits on it and seals it up and makes it its own humidity. So that is another way to do this. All right, and here's a look of where I put all of the plant babies, all the African violets. I also back here have some succulents that I'm propagating. And I added these sticks here, some of them that were falling over, until they get strong enough to hold themselves up. All 17 of them are here. And then I have this succulent that I brought in from outside, and I've been propagating some of the leaves from that, so that'll be another video. Show you how to do that.